Greetings, friends and family.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm Lamika.
And this is Deontay.
And this is our channel,
Carrolls Ever After.
As you can see, we are in a radio
studio. Yes, sir. Yes. We just wrapped up our interview with Yazzie Speaks on her show Millennial Minds, 96.7 WERA, Arlington Radio. And so we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about how we met, our relationship, marrying young, and then what to look for in a mate or a spouse.
This is Yasmin.
Hi, y'all.
How y'all doing?
Millennial Minds
With the Carrolls Ever After.
The Carrolls Ever After.
Carrolls Ever After. We're super excited for our interview, so watch.
Yes, they are here on Millennial Minds with Yazzie Speaks. Make sure y'all tune in on WERA 96.7 FM. You are listening to WERA 96.7 FM, Arlington, Virginia. This is your girl Yazzie Speaks on Millennial Minds. This evening, we have a dynamic duo. They are Deontay and Lamika, the Carrolls Ever After. Hey guys!
It's good.
How y'all doing? By the way, they have been recently engaged and they will tell their story. So start off telling us who you are and where you're from.
I let the lady go first.
Thank you. This is Lamika. I am a DC native, born and raised in the area, southeast. And I have spent a regular time growing up in the church. My dad's a pastor. I'm one of 3 amazing siblings, but I definitely am quite a PK. I'm also a mom. I'm also a divorcee. I'm also a firm believer in Christ. Jesus is my homeboy.
Hey. Shout out to Jesus.
I love love. I love black love. I love black enterprise. I love, just seeing how people grow together, move together, unity and all that great stuff. There's a lot of things that I love. I'm a big fan of love and all that stuff.
And I am Deontay Curl. I am engaged. I wish I could see a beautiful woman, black woman, all this melanin popping.
Yes.
But I'm also a father, also a divorcee. Dad to Deontay Jr. Also an author, preacher, work with juveniles. I got a lot going on. And so we're just here with Yaz telling our story and, documenting our journey to marriage.
I think it's so beautiful. Y'all should be on the Oprah's Black Love series.
Black Love?
Yeah, you should write to her.
You hear this, Oprah?
You should write to her.
Listen,
you should do
it. I heard you got a house here, Oprah. Come holler at us. Instagram. Listen.
Yes. So,
I'm also a counselor.
And she's a counselor. Listen, this therapeutic woman over here.
I love it. I love it.
This is the rough day of life.
And that's important. Right?
Very important. You should always want to have somebody that's going to help, counsel you. Like somebody that's going to be that sacred space, or that's a haven that you can go to, that you can confide in. Right? That's very important. And to know that you can choose like that safety deposit box that you can just deposit truth, deposit your fears. We always talk about women being, able to trust a man or what have you. But what happens when the man, a man should be able to have a woman that he can trust too, right? To where he can tell, like, babe, I'm scared, or babe, I got some fears and concerns. He should be able to trust her enough to be able to say, you know what, I know you're scared, but God got you. You the man.
He's my Superman, my Clark Kent.
Right. Everybody can see Superman, but not everybody can see Clark Kent. And so when you find that woman that can see that Clark Kent man, you got something in your hands. You got something in your hands. And that's what she is to me. So
that's so beautiful. Yeah. Well, on that note, tell us how you met. And I know you both might have your own version.
How we met.
But how you met originally, because you all met previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us that, and then we'll circle back to,
You want to tell
the quick version.
The quick version. Yeah. And my exact words was, she's cute. And mind you, this is before I met my ex-wife. This is before all of that. And every time I saw her,
how many years ago was that?
This was like going on 11 years now.
Yeah, about 11 years ago.
Yeah,
this is so the context of that is this is before all the rest of our life happened. So we're both young at this point. We're not married. I'm in college. I think he just graduated high school.
So we're like 21, 22.
Like
I was
late teens, early 20s type
Okay.
thing, you know?
Yeah, I was
so
in my late
we
teens.
were
You were in your late teens?
I was in my late
He was
teens.
in his late
like
teens.
17, 18.
We're just a couple of years apart.
I know
I
you
think
were
I had
young.
just started college, maybe a year into college or so.
Okay.
You
And
know.
so did you all connect then?
No.
Okay.
No, we just kind of
No.
noticed. He recalls that moment, and I recall briefly looking up, sitting in the choir loft because I sing, and I was directing. I remember looking at my program and looking up, and I randomly, because our church is small, you know, small intimate family church. I remember looking up and seeing a young person. I was like, "Who is that?" I don't see that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Trust
it's
me.
a young person in here." Okay. Hey. And it's a newer, pastorship. So, I'm trying to figure out and get to know people. So I was like, "Oh, I wonder who that is," because I'd never seen him before, and I've been there for a while now. And so, then somebody explained. And the funny thing is that his mom even wound up becoming my son's godmother. It's a whole other story. But
we got to come back for part 2 for that one.
Okay.
let me stop.
I'll be like, yo, listen. Seth, her son, man, he's only 5, and I'll be like, you can tell your mother went to Lafayette, because I always think, some mostly intelligent people went to Lafayette for real, and his vocabulary is just
so
like
funny.
that and just off the chain. And she be using them big words, and I'll be like, man,
Them SAT words?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wait a minute, let me write
I
that
can
down.
tell you passed with flying colors, boo.
He's so funny.
I'm for real.
But I met him there. We were in a relationship before we got married for some years, and it wound up getting a divorce. Probably about 3-4 years into the marriage after having our child. There were definitely some challenges there, but I think that I'm very appreciative of what that relationship did in terms of helping me to understand better who I am as a woman. Because marriage is marriage, but love and partnership, though they live in the same house, are not the same person.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
Yeah.
You can love someone, but they not be a good partner for you in particular.
That's deep.
You can partner with someone that you might not, you're saying be over the hills. I'm about to just lose my heart on the floor and type in love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get palpitations. I start sweating. And this is not the Fenty Beauty. It's like I'm literally sweating type thing. And I've learned that there's a healthy balance of both. Not a love that overwhelms and takes control of you. Not saying that that's what that was, but love has to have this beautiful balance of partnership in order to be healthy for marriage and long-term commitment.
Deep.
So
That's deep.
Yeah. So
And you had a child.
I did. I had a child about a year and a half into marriage. I had my child, Seth. He is quite a handful. But he was definitely a blessing. And then of course, like many mothers, like I had to deal with a lot, in terms of that journey, being married young, mothering really early, trying to figure out how not to compare myself to my grandmother and to my mother, or to be compared to other women, at the same time, trying to figure out how to be now married very early into marriage, and now also sharing my life with a child at the same time. And so there's a lot of different things like depression that women tend to go through sometimes when they're mothering,
Like
and mothering for the first time,
depression,
postpartum depression. I also had health issues after. And so dealing with my own issues, like as adjusting as a mother, and dealing with like some of the like depressive feelings that come after, along with dealing with the challenges that I'm already facing in my relationship.
That's a lot.
It was quite a combination to be like about 24, 25 at a critical moment in your life where you're really beginning to come into some of those fundamental questions about what you want from life.
Yes.
Not fulfilling somebody else's visions for corporate America or something like that, but I'm
Or
thinking about my own life
society, or
vision
church.
or society. Yeah, all these different iterations that really kind of reinforce or try to redefine or box you in. And so here I am trying to figure out a lot of different things. At such a critical moment, like that quarter of a century kind of period is so interesting, and it was in that time that it was one of the darkest periods of my entire life, but also in a way one of the most powerful. And so we're definitely going to talk about that in our channel when we get to talking about counseling, because as difficult that was and as deep of a valley that I found myself going into, there were just some amazing moments with God that I found myself having the desperation of my worship was like ridiculous. And I know that it was only my worship and seeking God and calling him out for who he was when I did not know if I could really feel him crying out to him.
Make me cry. I'm about to run around the room.
Look, let me tell you.
She Pentecostal over here.
Let me tell you though, if you allow it, I say it's only a failure if you don't learn anything. Anything in life is only a failure if you didn't learn anything. That experience, all those myriad of difficult experiences taught me so much about myself as a human being, but also about my God, about who I serve, because I did not think he was listening. I did not think he heard me. I thought he was so exceptionally quiet during this period of time in my life. And that was one of the hardest things as someone, again, who was brought up in the church. This is a part, the church is my identity. But I was beginning to learn more about not just church, right, and being churched,
right,
the culture of church as an edifice and as a building, as a group of people. But in terms of the intimate individual relationship, I was beginning to press into that in a way that I'd never expected. And so the hardest parts taught me about some of the most beautiful parts of God. You know what I mean?
Powerful.
And it was hard. I ain't gonna lie. But God.
But
God. He gonna show you how strong you are.
That's Deontay, so you got married young as well.
I was younger than she was. I was 19.
You were 19.
I was 19.
He was a baby.
And
he was a baby.
I was 19 at the time, and my former spouse, she was 27. I think at the time that I had got married the first time.
Oh, you thought you was grown, didn't you?
Yeah, right. And so
fast.
It's like I want to be a grown woman.
And so there were many different reasons why I even got married. I mean, because I dealt with a lot of issues like low self-esteem and rejection issues. I didn't have many girlfriends. I felt like I was the ugliest dude, like walking the face of the earth. You follow what I'm saying? And so the first time that I felt, equating physical intimacy, I equated that with love. And you follow
Which
what I'm
a lot
saying?
of people mistake that.
Right. And so
we're gonna talk about that waiting.
Right.
In our
and so, talking about waiting, that's one of the things I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you do wait, you can see a person for who they really are. And so there was a lot of things I missed about, my last my last bout on the merry-go-round, to where when it comes to her, I function in this relationship totally different than I did the last time.
Too.
And my thing is, I wish I would have known then what I know now about relationships, about covenants, about making sure that God is even in the core, in the center of it, and just trying to figure out exactly what it is that he wants out of the relationship. I mean, you want to be loved, you want to get the gaga Google eyes and be in love and take the pictures for Instagram and social media. But I mean, when all of that is gone away,
matching outfit.
Because I honestly think she made me look good on Instagram when she in my pictures.
She does.
Right? I get more likes when she in the pictures. Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, when the
even though
cameras,
you are handsome, she does make you look good.
Wine is wine.
Yeah, great. Right, but I mean, at the end of the day, when the cameras are gone away, what do you have as the foundation?
There you go.
And so there were a lot of things, even into like not even that far into the marriage, I started realizing, right? And so not even that. I also got married out of rebellion. You follow what I'm saying? With my mom and my family, because none of them wanted it to happen. Yeah, so there was a mixture of stuff.
Yeah.
Like a mixture of stuff, and just trying to prove a point. Like it could work. But sometimes when you do those things and you find yourself so far deep into something, it's like, well,
you in it.
I'm in it, and I can't go back to family and tell them what I'm going through because I don't want to hear the "I told you so."
Yeah.
So
pride got in the way.
So pride got in the way, and then
and better to marry. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's better to marry than to burn. I have an issue with that. Because if I'm only marrying you because I want to, have legal sex or legal physical intimacy,
or that's maybe how some people interpret that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
some people interpret it that way.
Right.
It could be like some people do need to be married.
Right. No. But I'm saying, but follow where I'm going though. If I'm only marrying you because I want to do that legally,
I get you.
Because I want to do that legally, then I have a bigger problem. Now I got self-control, the discipline issues as it relates to my flesh. Because just because I get married and I have that legal right to do that doesn't mean it's going to stop me from looking at this one and looking at that one out there.
If I've been
right?
thoughtless for the past 5 years,
right.
Getting married is not gonna just
it's not gonna
just disappear.
Right. Now mind
tendencies.
Right. Now mind you, what I'm going through. The guys, y'all know my story, right? Because I wrote the book about my porn addiction. So mind you, I was getting married. I was getting married at the time, still engaging in that addiction.
Right.
And so I had physical intimacy, whether it be with another person or myself, at my leisure. Right. So imagine going through all of that, being married for what, 6 or 7 years by the time it was over with, right? Because you still had the separation, and I was young,
very young.
right? So now, when I'm in a relationship with her, I don't do any of that. I don't even go back to the addiction or none of that. And so now the Lord deals with me the most about my discipline and self-control in that area, right? And so we all have, desires, but I love God more. I love her, but I love God more, and I want to make sure I honor Him, and anything that I'm in is going to honor Him ultimately, because I don't want Him to, to backdoor. I don't want to backdoor a situation or backdoor a marriage because I've been doing it all this time, and then no, I want to make sure any and everything we do, you do it the right way, because how can I preach Jesus and preach God and preach the word if I'm not living it? What is integrity? Integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. So I always want to make sure I honor Him, but I mean,
Would you say, I think one of the reasons too, I think one challenge of marrying young can be if you get married sometimes young, and it's a very unique thing to marry very young, right? And it's also a very unique thing to marry when you're very accustomed to your own habits and preferences. You have never had to be forced to compromise and all that. But when you marry young, especially in those pre-30s, right? Your sense of self, your self-awareness, it's almost like if you have to be very thoughtful about how you take that journey, because you could find yourself imagine me giving you a gift and I didn't really look inside of it to see how valuable it was. I looked at your reaction to my gift to assume and decide how valuable what I gifted you with was.
And if they could handle it.
Right. I'm giving you my gift, and I'm going to let you tell me how valuable what I gave you is, right? As opposed to being soul searching, having some life experiences that really help to cultivate your sense of self and what you want and what you need and things like that. Now, I'm not against young marriage. I think that in God's time is God's time. Yeah. If it's your grace period, you better function, you better work it out, you better do what you got to do. But you know what I'm saying? There's some very unique challenges that you experience when you marry young. Yeah. But you definitely have to be committed to being with someone who's a partner. Again, not just love. Love is a feeling. Partnership is a commitment. One is a feeling. One is a behavior. Two different things. You know what I mean?
Because not even to talk about partnership. A lot of people are married to people, and I married you. This is the problem. We make long-term decisions off of temporary feelings.
That's deep.
Right, and so because I love you and we all, giddy now, right, I'm doing things in the moment, but when we take our emotions out of it, right, and one thing I learned, because her father is my pastor, so one of the things I learned, because I'm like his right-hand man, so on Sundays I get to see a lot of things that a lot of people don't. Right, on Sundays preparing when he goes up to preach and all that. And so one of the things the lessons I learned from him is taking your emotions out of stuff. Take your emotions out of it and look at it for what it is and evaluate everything. And so, taking my emotions out of it, when we stop making long-term decisions off of temporary feelings, we can look at everything for what it is, even in a relationship. Because a lot of people are married to people, but you get to a point to where I don't even like you as a person. And that becomes dangerous. We married, we didn't got into this, but I don't even like nothing about your character. Even those days to where when your humanity gets the best of you, can I really say I still love you though? I still like you. Even though you did something off and so jacked up, but I still love you because I find qualities about you when that physical stuff fades away. What can I find to draw myself to say, what, that's boo right there, that's babe right there.
So on that note, I want to know, so can you tell us what is it like, how did you know, because you had come out of a very traumatic, chaotic type of confusing perhaps marriage experience initially, and you have children as well. So how did you know that Lamika was the one that you wanted to, or that you knew that you would move forward, that you're going to move forward to for a long term in
so
marriage.
so it actually started even before I met my ex, man. Mind you, I knew nothing about dreams, visions, prophecies, the prophetic, and how God uses those things to relay revelations and messages. And so not long after I had met her, I used to get these little visions of her and I working together, being together. But
so you would see her in your visions.
But it was odd because,
and you knew who it was.
Right, it was clear.
Okay.
But it was odd because her and I didn't talk.
I
You know,
that's deep.
Yeah, we didn't talk. We didn't have any. I didn't have her phone number. I found out not long after I met her that she was dating her now ex-husband. So I was like, oh, you know, and I would see, and I would come to the church.
He's a couple years older, so he's like,
so I was like, already feeling about
that.
myself. I was like, man, she wouldn't like nobody like me anyway. So I would just disregard a lot of that stuff. But it wasn't until after the whole separation,
About 10 years
you know
later,
what I'm saying,
almost.
going through all of that, and that stuff started coming back up again, and then her face just kept popping up in my, you know, my head, in my visions and stuff. And I'm like, God, why is that? And this one day, me and my cousin, we were coming from Chuck E. Cheese out of Waldorf, and I had just preached at the church because I had got an invite to preach at the church, and I was telling my cousin on the ride home, I don't know why Lamika's face keeps popping up in my head, like the Lord keeps showing me I'm not getting married again. I don't know what this is about.
I was going to be a Baptist nun.
Listen, and within 5 minutes of me saying that, my phone went off, and it was a message from her.
It was.
But it wasn't like she was trying to holler at me, get my number. She was venting about what she had gone through. That was November of 2016, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, it was like, okay, God, what are you trying to do? I'm going to follow with it. I'm going to flow with it. I'm going to rock. This is how I talk to God. I'm going to rock with you, you know, but just reveal it in your time, kind of like.
Yeah. And I had discovered, you know, I didn't reach out to him like while he was like married, but I discovered that he was also going through his old like divorce process and things like that. I was like, oh wow, that's so crazy. He had preached an awesome word that really resonated with me. It was about changing your posture to get the most out of your relationship with God. And I was having a difficult time with something, so I reached out to him to get a word. And
which I gave her.
Which he did. It wasn't nothing going down in the DM. Nothing.
The word of
Nobody
God was
Netflix and just chilling. None of that.
I love it. I love
Nothing.
it.
And so I was just trying to get a word because he was so, he is so anointed. He gave an awesome word.
Yes, he is.
And I was like, I said, maybe Reverend Carroll got a word for me. This is literally, and I actually had a conversation with my sister. I was like, I'm going through this thing. Reverend Carroll preached an awesome word. Should I send him a message? Is that okay? Like, you know, I wasn't sure or whatever. She was like, she said, yeah. She said, he probably do got a word. He did preach an awesome sermon. So I did. And then the connection was like, I've known him. Like, it didn't happen.
Felt like you knew him for
and it didn't pop off right. It didn't pop off right away because we were still both very, you know, we're that, you know, trying to be appropriate and keep our church nice. Stick your booty out. Stick your butt out. Stick your butt out. You know what I'm saying? We gonna hug with the palms, the tips of our fingers type, you know, interactions. And so it wasn't until like a couple weeks later we interacted again, some way, somehow, and the chemistry was just very natural.
Genuine, very organic.
Very genuine, very organic. It was like I was like, yo, it feels like I've known you for years. And I just really actually had a meaningful interaction with you. And it was crazy.
Yeah. And so over the last couple of years, you know, I've been able to see her for who she really is. You know, and I think the problem with the church sometimes, especially as preachers, and I can talk about it because I'm one of them, we like to bash people over the head to say, don't have sex before marriage or don't do this. You know, why? Because, the Bible says so, that's it. But if you explain it to them and show them the benefit, then people can catch it. Like, I can tell you, don't have sex before marriage because you get to see the person for who they are. I get to see your character. I get to see you for you. I get to love you and experience you as a person. So that way, when we do get in those disagreements, right, I had something to lean back on to say, hey, you know, I know we had this disagreement,
that
but
foundation,
right, that foundation, and so if the one lesson that I can teach anybody that's engaged, dating, courting, whatever, that's the one thing I can you know, share.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you all also have a YouTube channel, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
You can find us on YouTube, Carrolls Ever After.
Yes.
We have a couple of videos up, and of course you will be able to find this awesome interview. And you can also find us if you want, and do turn on your notifications and subscribe.
Yeah, turn the notifications on subscribe too.
But you can also find us on Instagram, MikaBear88.
Yes.
And
I am Deontay Carroll, DONTECARROLL,
I
one name.
love it. I love it. And we're gonna have to visit we will have to have you back so we can talk about the engagement story and which I saw the video on Instagram and it seemed very emotional and very uplifting and inspiring, right? It's just one of those precious moments in life.
Yeah.
But we wish you all great success, and I can tell that you both have God at the center, and with that you will be very successful, and I know your children are very, very happy. And I'm just really looking forward to the ministry and the ministries that God has for you now and in the near future. So thank y'all for being here.
Yeah.
All right. You are listening to WERA 96.7 FM, Arlington, Virginia. This is your girl Yazzie Speaks on Millennial Minds. Until next time, peace.
Make sure you check out on our YouTube page our latest interview with Yazzie Speaks, Yasmin Arrington on Millennial Minds. Also, we talked about how we met. We talked about what to look for in a relationship.
Marrying young.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about, what we had to go through to get here. So make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications.
Turn on notifications so when a video drops, you hit.
We in here. WERA. You on the radio.
On the radio.
We making it to the radio.
Good.
We going from YouTube to the living room to the daggone radio. Nothing like this. How you know God's hand is on, right? We got our cameraman. We got our sister up there. Man, they love us so much. They working with us.
The crew.
Yeah.
So yes.
So make sure
follow
you
us
keep
as
following
we follow
us as we follow Christ. And follow the journey, man.
Yes.
It's not easy, but with God,
All things are possible.